Welcome to episode 56 of the A Free Spirit Life podcast. Hello, my friend. I am so happy that you're here today. I am Shannon Kinney-Duh, holistic life and spiritual coach and a human design specialist, and I am sharing such an amazing conversation today with Tiffany Baker. Tiffany is an entrepreneur. She is a spiritual guide and coach. And she recently learned that she is a projector in human design. And we take a deep dive talking about how just learning about her projector nature only 7 months ago since we'd recorded this, how freeing that has been in her life. I love the way she describes learning about being a projector, what it has done for her energy, how it has helped her embrace why she always felt tired before, how she needs more downtime than most, and how she's created a business that allows her to work when she feels like it, when she has the energy to do it, and how she allows herself to rest and restore without being mean to herself in the process. She is a true testament to what it means when you live more in alignment with your natural energy type, when you live more connected to your authentic self. And what she'll talk about is exactly why I love human design, is I'm not telling you something new. Even the chart that you get, your chart, when you were born, you were imprinted with this information. It's what makes you you. And yet it's something that you've already known about yourself. You've known this about yourself from the moment you were born, but over time, you've had experiences that have pulled you away from that knowing. And so human design affirms and validates what you've already known about yourself. And when you have the language to explain, why am I always tired as a projector? Why can't I work like everyone else? It is massively freeing and empowering, and it just makes you feel better in all areas of your life. And that's what this conversation is today. So if you want to learn more about Tiffany, find her on Instagram, and her handle is at Rev Tiffany Baker. That's REVTIFFANYBAKER. If you're not on Instagram, you can also go to her website, and that is revtiffanybaker.com. But go to her information on Instagram, and you can click her bio to learn about her private coaching. She also offers a really great winter week challenge, and you can learn all about that because she's really into honoring your energy. And for some of you, that winter week is going to be speaking to you because it's all about resting and honoring your need for retreat, for renewal, for rejuvenating time that may not be like everyone else. But if your heart's longing for it, then you know to check it out. Enjoy the conversation today. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to welcome my dear friend, Tiffany Baker, to the show. We haven't talked in a while, and we just decided we're going to jump right in and start recording and see where this beautiful update takes us. So, Tiffany, welcome.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's just always so nice to be in your presence. And I would love just for you to take a moment to share a little bit about who you are and the work that you're passionate about.
Sure, I'm happy to do that, Shannon. We have a lot of similar interests. So, I am a spiritual coach and a digital creator and an entrepreneur and a retreat leader. And all of that is very, very different than my formal training. So, my formal education is I have an undergraduate degree in education. I was an elementary school teacher for a handful of years. And then my graduate degree is actually a master's of divinity. So I went to seminary and had a job as a local church pastor for 7 years. So, so my formal training and my current vocation are seemingly very different.
Mhm.
I am a recovering everything they don't have groups for, right? So I'm a recovering uh, achiever, a recovering persister, a recovering people pleaser, a recovering perfectionist. And so they don't have like meetings in basements for those kinds of things. So I've done
Mhm.
a lot of that recovery work in like groups on my own.
Yes, that's probably where we relate the most.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, recovering a self-doubter too. I'll throw that one in
Yes.
there.
Yes, that's a good one for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. You know, it's interesting. I'm also a recovering, like, I noticed as I was preparing for this conversation with you that I had a lot of anxiety come up around this idea of performing smartness
Interesting.
because so much of my life and my achievements on paper have been when I performed smartness. Like, I think I
Whoa.
am smart, but like, I have existed in head dominated spaces for
Yes.
so
Oh,
long,
yeah.
so long. So, like, performing smartness and not sounding dumb is a huge anxiety of mine. So, like, how this plays out, I was thinking about it. Um, I like even in graduate school, I never contributed. Like, I never raised my hand because it was such a head dominated space and I didn't trust my own gut wisdom, right? To contribute anything meaningful to the conversation and just performing smartness on everywhere in my papers, in my preaching. And when I was a preacher, I would even write out my entire sermon. And it wasn't because I couldn't memorize things. Like, I know how to memorize things, but it was because I was so afraid of sounding dumb and so cognizant of trying to perform like smartness that I wrote out every single word and then I read it on Sunday mornings. So to have
Mhm.
this unscripted conversation
Are
on
you
a
breaking out into a
podcast,
rash?
yes, yes, I just had to really like
Yes.
talk myself through
Yeah.
this morning. Like,
Yes.
okay, like you don't have to perform smartness anymore. Like, this is a safe space. Like,
Yes.
this is a safe space for your gut
Mhm.
wisdom to speak, and I don't have to try to fit in a head dominant space. So
So
that's
many
kind of
things are coming up for me when you say this, but we're going to talk about human design, in particular, you as a projector today, and your authority is splenic authority. And we'll share a little bit more about what that means. But just an intro to that is it's really about spontaneity and making decisions in the moment. And I have it as well as a manifester. And for me, I definitely got conditioned to, I love what you said, to perform smartness, to have the right response, to be overly prepared for whatever it was I was going to do. And I, have since learned and practiced and returned to how much better I do and in the flow and just how less energy I drain when I embrace my splenic authority, when I start making decisions in the moment. And so you're absolutely right in a conversation like this. Back in the day, I used to have a very scripted, even questions and like really like get nervous before even a podcast, or especially if I were the one being interviewed. When I do classes, even now, I have embraced this idea. I get myself in the zone and I, kind of throw it out to the universe that what I say I hope will find the ears it needs to find, right? And vice versa. And so, just you saying that puts both of us at ease and whoever's listening to say, where are the times where we've, kept ourselves from speaking our truth, from sharing, from connecting because we're trying to perform that smartness. We're trying to sound smart when the real scary thing is, can you jump unscripted?
right. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing today
Yeah, I love it.
together.
I love it. Can I tell you one of the tricks I have discovered for myself?
Yes,
So one of
please.
the tricks that I have discovered is, so when I used to go live on social media, which makes me want to die really most of the time.
You do it so well, though. I'm so proud
Well,
of you every time I see it.
well, thank you. But it's interesting because I used to like make sure I was dressed, wearing makeup, my hair was done. I was like, had good lighting, and I had notes about what to say. And it was exhausting, right? It was draining. And
Yeah.
I also noticed that my energy was different. So one thing I've started doing is recording, like going live or recording messages while I walk,
Mhm. Lovely.
because I can't perform, like I can't put all my energy in performing smartness and looking together when I'm walking.
'Cause otherwise you're gonna trip on
Right.
something, right,
Right.
anyway, so right.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you follow me on social media already, you may have noticed that like you're getting a whole lot more of like sweaty walking videos
Mhm. Mhm.
than, yeah.
Yes, but it's such a good practice. I'm glad you're sharing that because what is anxiety? Anxiety is energy that's stuck, energy that has to move somewhere. And usually it generates in our mind, which is, overthinking and getting worried. And so all that energy has to move. So, whatever it is that you have to do to perform, whether it's breathing, but to be able to share while walking already is releasing that
Mhm.
nervous feeling and gets you in the flow. And that's really what this is about is when you're living more in flow,
Mm.
you feel better.
Mm. You feel
You
so good.
feel so good. So let's talk about it. I
Let's
can't wait
talk
to
about
hear.
it. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Okay, where to start? So why
Yeah.
don't we first just kind of back up a little bit because when you said you were a teacher, or I forgot that's kind of when we first connected when you were hosting retreats, but you were also subbing, I believe,
Mhm.
and just kind of maneuvering through that up to now where you're at, and just this amazing joy you're experiencing. Tell me what it was like and for those of you who don't know anything about human design, I have other past shows that really talk more about it where you can find out your energy type. But today I really want to focus on projectors, and that's one of the 5 energy types in human design. Tell me what it was for you. What is a projector in your eyes? And what has it brought to your life to understand that?
I It has been such a gift to learn I am a projector. I don't even know how to describe to you how grateful I am.
Mm.
So you and I met for my human design reading on December 31st, right?
Mm.
Wasn't it? It was like
That's
of
right.
2020
Yes.
or
Yes.
30th or it was like the very end of a very intense year.
Yep. That's right.
And it was just the exact thing I needed to hear in the exact moment. So my whole life, I have been tired. Like,
Oh, talk to my husband. "Why are you
right?
always saying you're tired?" And I'm not a
Right?
projector, I am a manifestor, but that is the same. What this is we have very different unsustainable energy, whereas
Yes.
70% of the population is some type of generator, and they have consistent access to their sustainable energy. So if you're a generator and you're tired all the time, there's other things that burn us out. But as a projector or a manifestor or reflector, we get the tired. So go.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. So I mean, this has always been my story. I mean, I remember being teased as a kid for how early I went to bed or how tired I would get. And when I was an RA in college, and I remember being teased about how early I went to bed because I went to bed at 9:30 or 10, which is really early for a college student. And we have these large family gatherings at the lake, and there's a billion kids running around who aren't taking naps, but I need a nap every day, every day, every day. I want a nap. And so to hear you say, Tiffany, you don't actually have an internal renewable source of energy felt like there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm.
Because I remember, I mean, first of all, I want to talk about like this period in my life, like mid 30s, right? I had three small children under the age of 5. And that's a whole nother story, right?
Yeah.
Because parenting small children is always hard. And as a projector, I wish I had known I was a
Mhm.
projector when I was parenting small children because I would have done a few things differently.
Mhm.
And I thought something was wrong with me. I was not the fun mom who was like designing all these like home projects and taking field trips and doing that. I just didn't have the capacity. I was also working full time in a career that required me to write and perform a sermon every Sunday,
Right.
every
Wow.
Sunday.
Wow.
So, and I remember doing everything I could to figure out why I was so tired. Like I went to my general practitioner, I went to my chiropractor, I tried a homeopathic, what's the DO kind of
Mhm.
physician?
Functional
Um,
medicine doctors or
yes,
yeah. Uh-huh.
yes, I tried functional medicine, I tried herbs, I tried changing my diet, I tried adrenal supplements, right? Like I tried all these things, and what I needed was just like an 8-week nap.
Mhm. For the rest of your life, like continuous, but yeah.
Right,
But
right,
yes, to
right.
recover.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and so the timing of finding you and doing my human design reading coinciding with my youngest starting kindergarten and finally having 3 kids in school and, like, embracing this energy in my business and now having that time to work on it is just, like, I'm so happy. I'm just so
Mhm.
happy.
I wish you could all see her because she is. You're glowing. You're
I
glowing right off the
am.
screen here. And gosh, it just makes me so happy. I have such a love for you and for projectors, especially anyone who doesn't have that access to that energy because, I've lived it too. And as a mother, it's especially hard, especially when you have generator children, which we found out
Oh,
you do.
oh.
And you're the only projector in your family, so in your immediate family. And, you know, um, it's hard not to think something's wrong with us when we
Mhm,
feel so different.
mhm,
And top it with being an entrepreneur and a creator and a mother, you just can easily blame it on all those other things. So now that you've learned more about that for you, and some projectors have this kind of at first, it can be kind of shocking for them to hear, like, you don't actually have to work like in the traditional sense that others do. Some are like, oh my God, I've always known this, like, and there's a relief. And then some are like, what? Because especially if you're a little bit of a younger projector, what happens? You have all these open centers, you take in the energy, especially in your sacral, you take in the energy of everyone around you. And so you actually can seem like you have more energy than other people, but you're revving on borrowed energy. And so, what you are learning to do is live more in tune with your design. When I'm tired, I rest. When I'm tired, I don't, berate myself. I actually allow myself to rest. I actually don't allow my thoughts to go, what's wrong with me? Do more. And so, tell me what it was like when I told you, like, Tiffany, you're not really here to work in the traditional sense, like 2 to 3 hours a day, because projectors are so efficient when they work. And let me just give an overview. A projector, you are the guide, you are the orchestrator, you are the director. And so it takes so much energy for you to see what you see, for you to know what you know, but you don't know that because you're just born that way. But for anyone who has a projector in their life, if you are one, you take in information from the world way different than other people. And you are here to be invited to share that beautiful wisdom that you are here to share with the world. And
mm,
so there is a, there's a two, this is a two-part question because it's coming up for me. One, what did it feel like for you to go, wow, you mean I don't have to work like and hustle like everyone else? And also, that waiting to be invited, what does that mean to you? Where there's a kind of a healing process that happens for projectors where you feel um, people don't hear me,
Mm.
or they're not seeing, or you have to like, you know, it, be seen. But rather, when you practice waiting, it seems like the right opportunities and the right people find you. Are you experiencing that?
Yes.
It's a double loaded question. There you go.
Yes. Yes, I am. So when you told me that I was not created to work in the traditional way, I felt like it confirmed what my knowing has suspected all along.
Mhm.
And it felt like I was thinking about how, so we have a Jack Russell Terrier. If you know Jack Russell Terriers, they must be generators, right?
I
Like
was gonna
they
say, you
just
even
have
have a
like,
generator
I do,
dog?
I do, I do. There's like massive energy, right? And I was thinking about how when we walk with her, she's 14, she's still not trained. Like she just has to run, like she just is trying to get ahead of, and I'm always saying, we're always saying, Zoe, slow down, like Zoe, and we're always pulling her, right? Like pulling her. And then there are times when you let the leash off of her and she can just run. That's how I felt when you told me,
Mm, that gives me chills. I love it.
right? Like I felt like
Wow.
you took my leash off and just said, okay, Tiffany, run the way you want to run and be who you want to be. And it's funny, you talk about projectors being very efficient, and that is, I have experienced that. And can I share a little bit about what my typical, I'm using air quotes, you can't see them, but like my typical work day looks like?
Please. This will
So,
be so wonderful.
so first of all, I have to say I have become completely unemployable. Like, like, like not being an entrepreneur is no longer an option for me because I have become completely unemployable.
Fantastic.
So my typical day, my husband is a nurse, generator, by the way, nurse who works very early shifts. So his alarm goes off at 4 a.m. So I wake up at between 4 and 4:30, like super excited to be awake.
Mhm.
And drinking coffee in the dark is my favorite time of day. And I am the most creative and I get the most downloads. Like I cannot, like I woke up recently with this poem, like this entire poem, and I just typed it in my phone notes before I even got out of bed because I feel like I'm receiving information that I don't even know where it comes from. Like
Yes.
I just know things in the morning, in the dark hours of the morning, right? So I'm most creative between like 4:30 and 7:30.
Mm.
So I that's when I'm like writing posts or jotting down ideas or create, like I text myself. That's what I do, is I text myself or write in my phone notes. And then I have to kind of pause for a bit and get my kids to school. And then I drop them off at school and I walk. So I walk for like an hour and I often text myself. So if you see me walking, it looks like I'm walking and texting other people, but I'm
Mhm.
really just texting
Mhm.
myself all the downloads I'm getting, right?
I love this.
All the
Yes.
ideas I'm having.
Yes.
And then my client hours are like 9 to 11. And I remember being like, I get to decide when I serve clients.
Yes.
So from 9 to 11 is when I schedule my one-on-one sessions because I'm still really like alert and ready. And then by like 11:30, I'm done. I'm exhausted. One thing I have learned about myself is I will never meet you for lunch. Like I will never make lunch appointments again because I'm exhausted by lunchtime. I eat lunch and I take a nap on my couch every day.
Oh my goodness. And has this changed because you are embracing your projector nature?
Yes.
Wow.
For sure. Because only recently did I stop making lunch appointments. I mean, when you're trying to fit in with a 9 to 5 world, and the only exception is my best friend Shannon, we run a nonprofit together, and that's really kind of her only availability to me is on the lunch hour. So I will make an exception for her, but otherwise I will not meet you for lunch.
Mm.
I just won't.
Yeah.
If you want to meet for an 8:30 coffee, I can maybe work you in. But um yes, I just stopped feeling bad about needing a nap every day.
Yes.
'Cause because that's just how I work. That's just how I work. I wake up at 4 or 4:30, ready to work, and at 11:30 or 12, I'm spent. I have nothing left. I have no more. And so I rest, I nap, usually about an hour,
Mhm.
and then in the afternoon, I do, like, odd things. Usually, that's kind of when I do my out of my zone of genius things, like, I don't have a team or anything, so that's when I, like, work on my website or set up an email something or do things that are really kind of outside my zone of genius, but don't require a lot of creativity,
Yes.
and then I go to bed by 8:30.
Oh, this makes me so happy. I love everything you're sharing. I'm going to share a little bit too about my schedule because I feel like it's going to be helpful for people to hear. Because one of the things we've been so conditioned since we started school or even, younger is we live in a generator society that is very much 9 to 5 and and that works for a lot of people. And for some people, it doesn't, depending on what, if you're happy in your work or not. But there is such, oh, I think an awakening happening, especially with COVID, where people started to realize, wow, I feel more free, even if it's just working in a different environment like my home, where I can make my own lunch and, take an afternoon walk, and I still get just as much work done. And I think a lot of employers and, that are more innovative will continue to embrace this idea that people want freedom and individuality, and we're also very different. Um, but it takes that awareness, and this is why I love human design so much, is it gives you the way to communicate something that you've always known about yourself. And then those things that you think, "What's wrong with me?" are actually your gifts. It's just
Mhm.
how you are, and once you embrace that, you get the glow that I see, nodding back to me, and I remember as a manifester not having that internal energy, working a 9 to 5 job, thinking, what's wrong with me? And this was years ago, but I remember even then, this is my late 20s. I said, this will be the last job I interview for because I had the same, what'd you say? You're unemployable. I had the same desire to be my own boss, have a lot of freedom. And as a manifester, what's different about us is we start things, we light fires. So for me to see you, like to be able to light a little fire in you as a projector and then you just go and run with it, like that is my greatest joy. And so that takes a lot of energy to initiate, to start new things, to create new projects. So I create, and then 3 days of rest. And then I come back. I'm ready to create and then I have to rest. And so I'm doing a very similar schedule where it's my morning time. I do my morning walk, it's my self-care time, and then it's my work time, but I don't book past noon. And my husband, who's a manifesting generator who has millions of projects always going on at once, he's like, "What's going to happen when you get overbooked?" I'm like, it's not going to happen because I only block out this schedule, and it's just
Mhm.
it's a really great practice. So yeah, there are days where, like I told you last night, I was spent and I went to bed like at 8 o'clock, but my energy does come back. And it's
Right.
just being able to understand that there isn't something wrong with us. We just operate differently and we are that unique part of the puzzle. So it's a beautiful thing. So anyone listening who's like, what's wrong with me? Pay attention. What are you saying? What are you thinking that is wrong with you? Because there are ways to shine light on that, to be free of that, to take the leash off and run.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
love that
that's
visual.
amazing. Well, and I was thinking about how this information really, like, to really fully embrace your energy type, if you are not the typical generator, right? Which you said 70%.
Mhm.
So it requires a lot of trust
Right.
because you have to trust that resting, that actually doing less will pay off or will lead you to your next idea or will get you where you want to go because it feels like we should just push through.
Right. And that's generally what happens to projectors is around the age of 40-ish, it's burnout time. So there's a, some type of massive fatigue going on. And so for most of the projectors I've spoken to, there is a sense of like, I've always known this about me, but I've just tried to keep running with the crowd, right? And so if there's only 20% projectors in a classroom, maybe two, you know, maybe three. I'm raising a projector right now. And so here's another thing. If for anyone who, is learning about this as a projector or has one in your family, invite them to participate. Tell me a little bit about feelings in the past where maybe you weren't heard, maybe you said something and you just didn't feel heard, or
Mm.
have you ever had those kinds of feelings where it's like, hello, look what I can do? And I noticed that in my family. I have one projector. We're all loud and talk a lot, and can talk over him, and knowing that as a mother, I really am aware to ask him, well, what do you think? And he always says something that blows my mind. But he
Mm.
otherwise kind of sits back. And you have a 2 in your profile, and so does he, which is called the
Mm.
hermit.
Mm.
And it's, you love to be alone, you love your own time, but it also kind of gives you that, type of personality that says, I'm not good at lunch. I'm not good till I get my naps. I crave my alone time, but you also wanna participate. So
Mm.
talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes. So the thing that's immediately coming to mind, I'm going to trust my splenic
Authority.
intuition, authority. Yes.
Yes.
So the thing that's immediately coming to mind is this one class I took in seminary, and it was a very head dominant space. It was a very masculine space, which I
Mm,
think is, side note, I could digress, but I think this is one of the nuances of patriarchy, is that we have to exist in these head dominant spaces
yes.
that don't honor the wisdom of intuition.
Yes.
Okay, so I was in this lecture style class in this very traditional head dominant course, and 10% of our grade was class participation.
Mm,
And I could not make myself raise my hand. I could not make myself try to talk over people or raise my hand, or I just, it was awful. And I remember my professor actually kind of pulled me over. He didn't really know me because it was a large class. And after I turned in my second paper, and he was like, "Okay, she's not dumb."
yes.
He pulled me aside and he's like, "I I don't know how to grade, I don't know how to do your grade, because you should not get your class participation grade. But also I see from your paper that you're paying attention and you know what's going on." And I didn't
Mm.
have the language to say, "Well, maybe you should figure out how to invite me to share," right? I just
Yes.
I just kept thinking something was wrong with me and I have to figure out how to get my participation grade.
Yes.
Now, I did have some courses in seminary and they were led by females, and it was a very different kind of space, right? Like we sat in a circle instead of a lecture course, and
Mhm.
they did know how to invite, and I shared a lot in those courses. So, yes, being invited to share and feeling heard is so powerful. And when I first left my job, so I left my traditional 9 to 5 job, I thought I wanted to write, and I thought I wanted to be a published writer. And the obstacle that kept getting in my way was the size of my platform, which
Mm,
is basically how many people are listening to you.
right.
And trying to get people to listen to you, like trying to clamor above the noise, feels exhausting to me.
Right. It's
Exhausting.
back with your leash on, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So trying to trust that the right people will find me, that the right people will share my stuff, and that will invite a greater audience to find me is requires a lot of trust, but is also very powerful.
Mhm. Oh, it's so true. And, you know, the word trust keeps coming up. Like we basically from a young age are kind of taught to distrust. And, you know, that's what this work does, whether it, you know, whatever healing modality we turn to. We are all really coming to a place of wanting to learn to trust ourselves again. And how do you do that? And, you know, I would ask you, like, thinking through um, the little things, you know, I always think about when you're learning how to listen to the wisdom of your intuition. Start with the little things, you know, whether you have sacral authority, which is like all about gut, trusting your gut. What does your body tell you? You know, human design is not about our mind is brilliant, but it's not a decision maker. So intuition is in the body somewhere. Some of us need to speak it out to really hear our own voice, to really understand our intuition. Some of us, it's like an inner, and for splenic authority, you and I, it's like an inner, it's like a lit up feeling inside where you just know. But we have to start small so that we can really start using it with the bigger things that are scary. So, do you have any suggestions or even anything coming up for you as far as like, how do you take the steps to start trusting
Mm,
yourself,
yes.
trusting your intuition?
I think the first thing I did was replace what should I do with what do I want to do.
Mhm. Huge.
And I remember when you and I had our session, I shared with you that we had just ordered Chipotle. Do you remember this?
Oh, I do. Yes, it's
Yes. Yes. So we had
yes, share
just
that.
ordered Chipotle. And I'm a recovering restrictor too, right? Around
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
And so I never let myself order rice.
Mhm.
I mean, let's just take a moment, right, to appreciate all
Seriously.
our food restrictors out there.
That's right.
And I had this moment where I just had this knowing that I really wanted rice in my burrito, which would mean I had a tortilla and rice.
Mhm.
And I let myself order the rice. And I shared that with you, and you celebrated that with me. So
Yes.
that's where it
Yes.
started. And then what has been so incredible is your encouragement to be what you called impulsive, which I had all kinds of negative shame about. Like, I have a lot of negative stories in my mind about what it means to be impulsive, and that it means you're not being logical, realistic, um,
Making really
responsible.
bad choices.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So your challenge to me to trust my impulsive intuition has has been so fruitful in my life. So one example is my sister in March asked me if I wanted to go to Hawaii as a joke. Like, she was like, because she has a timeshare and she was trying to use up this week. And I turned 40 in June and she turns 50 in October. And so she just playfully was like, "Want to go to Hawaii?" And I said, "I do."
Well, what was now, were you on the phone or did you see her face? I'm
No,
curious how she
we were
responded.
I couldn't see her face, but she was like,
Okay.
"Wait, what?" Like,
Is this my
like,
sister?
right? She's like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, I do. Like, I do wanna go to Hawaii." And so she's not a projector. I would be curious to know what she is. My sense is she's some kind of manifestor generator. She makes things happen, right?
Mhm.
And so like within an hour she's like, "Oh, we could book these flights, and we could find like a one bedroom timeshare condo where could have a kitchen so we could make our own food." And it happened so fast. And I was like, "Okay, I should probably run this by my husband." And he was like, "Well, I mean, I guess if I mean, I had a free place to stay." He's like, "I guess if you have a free place to." Oh, I had points too, like, I had free miles, so everything was free. He's like, "I don't see why not." Like, and so we planned this kind of last minute trip, and it was probably the best trip of my life.
So you went.
I went.
The best trip of your life this
It
past
was
summer.
the best trip of my life. It was by far the best week I've ever spent with my sister, like, the best time we've ever had connecting. And
And she invited you. So the
she
flow of your
did.
energy was already naturally
Yes,
came to you.
yes,
That
yes.
is so incredible.
It was amazing. It was amazing. So, from little things like I want rice to big things like yes, I do want to accept this invitation
Mhm.
to Hawaii. Um, yes, I'm shortening the time between when I know something and when I act on that
There
knowing.
you go. That's a perfect way to say it. I had a similar thing happen to me. I have a friend who lives in California who called me up and said, "You need a beach vacation. And we're going to be in Costa Rica. You can have our house and you can stay here for free." And I knew, and it was at the time I wasn't ready to fly, and I have 3 kids, and it was summertime. And my husband's work schedule is crazy, and he had all these projects that were due, and I just knew he wasn't going to be able to go. So I went and, asked him, or, offered this idea up, and he's like, I can't take that much time off. And in that moment, it was like everything in my body was like, because I've been getting these intuitional hits to get out west. I've been craving the mountains, craving the desert. I said, "I'm going. I'm going." And he said, You should go." And I went on a 17-day road trip with my boys all over the West. And same thing, Tiffany. I just knew everything in me said, "You have to do this." But I didn't know why. My old self would have questioned it, would have had to think about it, would have slept on it, and would have let that intuitional hit just fizzle out. And so that's what happens with, if you have this splenic authority, it's like it comes and then it's gone. And what I hear you saying is you're listening and really listening. And you're really showing the universe that, like, I'm listening because more of these surprises keep coming your way.
Mhm,
It's so magical.
mhm.
And so, for those listening who are like, I don't even know, I'm not connected to my intuition, I didn't know where to start. I think one thing that's helpful is to write down your intuitional hits. When you feel like your gut is telling you something, or your spleen is telling you something, or you just feel inside, I don't know how I know this, but I just know. If you're not quite there to act, write it down and just start paying attention to how often something happens where you either talk yourself out of it or you lean into it. And I think that builds some courage.
Yes,
Start with the
yes,
rice too. Start with
yes,
little things.
absolutely. I also would encourage affirmations. Like I put affirmations in my phone as a reminder so that they could go off. And so one of them, like two of the most powerful ones were my intuition is trustworthy
Mm, beautiful.
because I wasn't told that. Nobody told me that. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just like, I never heard that.
Yes.
Nobody ever
Yes.
said that impulse, that intuition, that knowing is trustworthy.
It's your gift.
It
It's
is.
your
It is.
teacher.
It
Yes.
is. So that was a powerful affirmation, and then I know I am being guided
Mm,
was another one. That one actually goes off first in the day. So I wake up to this affirmation that says, "I know I am being guided."
mm,
Because
massive.
yes. Yes. So I guess that's a way of using my head, right? Like I'm retraining my brain to be like, okay, brain, we're actually going to start trusting our intuition.
That's right. And when we look at your chart, you have a very active, you have kind of two centers going. You have this active mind, and then you have this like inner, knowing. And so highly intuitional, highly tons of stuff going on in your mind. And I also think, and I hope that you got this from your reading too, is that your mind is always going to be active. It's not going to be quiet. It's just what are you focusing on? What is your mind focusing on? And it sounds like it's much more affirming and positive, and I love when you say you download these, this wisdom, because you have this channel 1156, which is literally like ideas just
Mm,
flowing, just pouring, just, and so you have found how to access that gift.
mhm,
And again, going back to the word trust, trusting that what you've been downloaded is what needs to be, trusting that who you need to share those downloads with will come your way. Like, I mean, that is the glow that I see in you,
mhm.
and it just makes me so happy.
Well, thank you. I think another thing I'm trusting about these downloads is that they may not lead to the success. Again, I'm using air quotes that you can't see, listeners, but I have reframed, this is the recovering achiever. I have reframed what failure means, and you helped me do this, right? Like failure is simply feedback. And so I have this new image in my mind. You know those children's menus that they have where there's like this big maze and
Mhm.
you're trying to get from point A to point B from start to finish. And like you can't look at the maze, at least I can't look at this maze and know how to get from start to finish with one move, right?
Mm.
Like you start moving and you run into a dead end, so you back up and you go a new path. Like I've started embracing that these downloads I get tell me which path to go, but they might lead to a dead end. Like I might, but that's okay because that's just information. Like knowing where the dead end is helps me know I need to back up and try a different path. So that has been helpful too, because it would be easy to look at some of my downloads, right? Some of the ideas I've had and say, well, that didn't work.
Yes.
And it didn't work in that it didn't bring the income or the success or the audience that I was hoping for, but it worked in that it gave me information that I can use to pivot. And that's what
Mm.
I did in that where I launched my program last week.
Yes, so share about that.
So first of all, I follow a businesswoman who is a projector, and I love following her because she talks about not making a year-long plan. Like, she doesn't make a 12-month plan. She makes, like, a 3-month plan, and even that's kind of loose. Like, you
Believe
make
me, that is speaking such beautiful, oh my
right?
goodness. Yes, yes, yes,
Right?
I get it. Uh-huh.
I love not having a 5-year plan or a 12-month plan.
I would highly, if there are any other projector or any non-sacral energy people listening who are entrepreneurs or creators and follow generators, just watch how often you feel like you have to hustle like they do. Because I think
mm,
that's a whole nother episode that we
whole
can
nother
do
episode.
just for women entrepreneurs. But man, it took me a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, I took a lot of courses and listened to a lot of business people that were not aligned with my energy, so it was not helpful. But anyway, so my plan at the beginning of June was to launch Beloved and Enough after school started. And I did plan it with my cycle, like, because I'm learning to plan according to my menstrual cycle and my energy cycle.
Hmm.
And so I did do that well. I was like, okay, this is after school has started. This is the week that I am most visible, have the most energy, and can manage a launch. But then I didn't evaluate the plan, like, right? I didn't reevaluate the plan between June and August. And so the day before the launch, I knew I didn't feel, I felt blocked. And I thought that block was fear. Like, I thought I would just felt afraid because it does feel vulnerable anytime you offer a gift to the
Mhm.
world, right? And you don't know how others are going to receive it. So I just kind of worked through fear, and I launched my program on Monday, and I did all the things like you do in a launch, right? Like I sent the emails and I made the posts and I went live and I tried to create the hum. And like 3 days in, I was exhausted.
Yes,
And I
yes.
had made 0 sales,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel sad about it.
Yes. There it is.
And so I
Yeah.
asked myself, "Tiffany, do you want to do this program you launched right now?" And I knew the answer was no. I knew the answer was no.
Mhm.
And so I did sit on it for a weekend. Like, I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna sit on this for the weekend. I'm not gonna worry about promoting the program. I'm not even gonna worry about what I do instead," right? Because your fear can be like, "Well, if I don't launch this program, then what do I do instead?" And then yesterday, I just decided to send out the email and to share this with people, right? Because it would be so easy to just pretend that I'd had a whole bunch of signups and I was leading this program and that I was successful and it was fine. Or to explain it away as, well, it's COVID, it's back to school, people are busy and distracted. But really, I wanted to claim that I didn't want to do this anymore, that I had announced it and then I changed my mind.
This is so powerful because that is usually why we don't set healthy boundaries, why we don't speak up, why we don't talk about, things that we feel embarrassed about or shame around. We keep quiet because we are so afraid of how we'll be perceived. And that, I mean, it's for you to just say, I changed my mind is not only a projector trait, but it's very much what your intuition is doing because your intuition is alerting you when something feels right and when it doesn't. And you have a choice to listen or not. So that is a powerful example for you to share because you're still human. You still have these like, oh no, what are they going to think? Or right?
Mhm,
But you do it anyway.
mhm. Yeah, because I had all this fear of, well, if I change my mind, I'm going to appear unreliable or I'm going to, appear inconsistent or flaky. And maybe, I don't know, I can't really control how people perceive me anyway, but I also think that by doing that, I'm attracting the people who are meant to work with me because what I'm
Exactly.
modeling is how to listen to myself.
That's right.
And the reason people are hiring me is because they want to learn to listen to themselves.
That is right. And it doesn't matter about the number of people at this point. It's the quality, it's who the right people are. And that only comes when you're living in tune, in alignment, when you're experiencing that flow. Because that's really what we're talking about is energy. Money and making money, doing what you love is energy. It's like a
Mhm.
giving and a receiving. And how exhausting for you to manage a ginormous following of no one who's buying the product versus the right people who are in alignment with your message and who need to hear what you have to share, which is this amazing wisdom. I'm so grateful for your sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to
I
share.
mean, I'm gonna use that maze visual because I was thinking as you were talking about from the start to the finish, and we always, the line is crooked. It's never straight in life, and we don't always know what that dead end is going to bring. Maybe there's a bench there, and we just need to sit. Maybe a
Right.
full-on bed. We need to
Right.
sleep. Right.
Right.
Maybe there's some flowers we didn't know were in the corner and we just kind of pick them and do a little twirl and take off to the next thing
Or a taco truck.
with a whole lot of rice.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So, lastly, as we're just wrapping up, what would you want people to know? Let's talk to the family members or people who aren't projectors.
Mm.
Um,
Yes,
what do
yes.
you want to know? Yes, go for
Okay, so I
it.
thought about this. So here's what I want non-projector family members to know. Just because your loved projector needs a lot of rest does not mean they are boring or
Mhm.
that life with a projector is boring, right? And
Yes.
my husband will tell you this. My generator husband will tell you that I need a lot of rest. He knows this about me. We've been together 22 years. He knows I love to nap. I'm going to nap. I go to bed early. It's fine. But also life with me is not boring. I'm always the one. He's the grounded, steady energy and I'm the dreamer, right?
Yes.
And so I'm
The
always
im
the one.
the impulsive one.
Yes, so
Woo!
I'm the one who always says, "What if we did this?" Or "What if we did this?" Or what and so I think, projectors get a bad rap for being, I don't know, boring, not fun, and that's not true. A well-rested projector is very fun.
Yes, yes, yes. So let your projectors in your life rest when they need
Yes,
it.
yes,
That is beautiful.
yes.
I love it. I love you. Thank you so much. I know we have so much more to talk about.
I know. Can we do a part 2 someday? Because there's
Yes.
just I just am
We
so
have to because it's
I
only
know.
been, I mean, what, 7 months since your reading?
Yes.
And look what you're already doing in your life, just really trusting and resting, a lot of
Yes,
resting.
a lot of
And
resting.
yeah, it's just beautiful. So, I mean, gosh, you've already been to Hawaii. I can't wait to see where your impulses take you next. It's just a joy to watch.
Thanks, Shannon. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for gifting me with this information.
Oh, thank you so much, Tiffany. Well, after I stopped recording, Tiffany and I said what we thought were more brilliant things to share with you. And so at some point after these next several months of her living by her projector design, we will definitely have a part 2 and see how she's doing. I hope that you found this show inspiring. If you want to learn more about Tiffany, go find her on Instagram, Rev Tiffany Baker. You can go to the show notes for this episode 56 to get all those links. And if you're ready to energize your life and learn about your human design chart, go to my website, afreespiritlife.com. You can learn all about my mini sessions that are called Energize Your Life, or you can get a full deep dive reading, and all that information is there. I am grateful that our paths have crossed, and I can't wait to connect with you next time.